Tested Francisco Palacios looking to take advantage of a short notice opportunity against former world title challenger Louise Azille. Palacios, 30 years old. He's had slow growth in his pro career, 11-0, 5 knockouts. Bronx-born Puerto Rican-based fighter, 6'2", came on the scale at 198.5. Took the fight on 5 days' notice, and with his age and record, you may think he came to boxing very late. But he had a well-established amateur career, part of the national team, went to the World Championships twice, and was even part of the scholarship boxing program at Northern Michigan University. He's very much determined, and that motivation stems from the death of his brother in 2004.
My brother was my everything to me. My brother was like my father, my best friend, and he was just everything to me. He's the man who made me a man, and it's just like that boosted me up even more when I buried him. I promised him I was gonna become a world champion, and that's my goal. And like I said, this is my opportunity. In order for me to make it to be a world champion, I gotta go through these things. So I'm definitely ready. I'm anxious. I want to do this. I'm ready for the bell to ring tonight.
He better be ready for Louise Azille, 36 years old now, former world title challenger, was supposed to be fighting O'Neal Bell tonight. We told you about that story. Bell went AWOL. 19-3-2, 15 knockouts. And his last 5 shows that he lost the world title fight in April 2004. You see it against Wayne Braithwaite there, 12-round decision loss. Then he took 3 years off before coming back and upsetting Michael Sims in February. We asked him about that layoff.
Well, it's not that I left the sport. You know, it just took me that long to get fights, you know what I mean? I tried to get back in the ring, but it wasn't working out, you know. And at the same time, I was in the mix of moving my family from Jersey to Florida. So I had to coordinate all that effort, and it took that much time to get everything settled, and then come down to Florida, find a gym, get ready, and we was back in, in business after 34 months.
Tommy Kimmins, the referee, scheduled for 8.
I want to remind you, this audience here to watch you fight, so keep it clean. Touch him up. Rocky.
The ring experience favors Azille. He's faced the superior competition, and he says his preparation for this fight, thinking he was going to fight O'Neal Bell, was wonderful, but stylistically a contrast between Bell and what we are assuming Francisco Palacios is going to bring to the table, Teddy.
Yeah, big step up in class for Palacios, and I think, quite frankly, that his people taking this on 5 days' notice, stepping up in class against Azille, well, as you said, fought the much better competition. He's fought for a world title in his career already. I think that the people with Palacios are bargaining on that old adage that styles make fights. They just feel that their guy is quick enough. He's a southpaw. He switches, actually. He'll come out orthodox, as you see him right now, Palacios, and then he has no problem switching to the other side of the plate, back and forth, because he's naturally a left-hander. But I really think that the people that have Azille took this fight because they just think he's going to be too quick for a much more experienced Azille, but a slow Azille, a very predictable Azille. They think that they can maneuver around the ring long enough to win the fight. And they were helped. This fight was changed from 10 rounds to 8 rounds, and that's helped the fortunes, I believe, of Palacios. Be a lot more difficult stepping up with a guy like Azille. That level of opposition. Palacios never been past 6 rounds. Azille's been 10 rounds or better 4 times. It'd be a lot tougher if it was 10 rounds he had to go, but 8 rounds, I think they figure, hey, he's quicker, he can use the ring, and he can avoid Azille for 8 rounds.
Azille in the white with blue trim. He's originally from the West Indies island of Dominica. And you can see the upper body muscularity of Louise Azille. He actually started off his athletic career in bodybuilding. That was his first love.
I think, quite frankly, that the people that have Palacios, they're figuring, usually when you step up in class, and you can see Palacios switching from orthodox to southpaw once again, you figure you're going to get tested. They figured that they can avoid being tested tonight because of the style, the quickness differential of Palacios and Azille, that he can avoid Azille enough tonight to not really get tested. If he's going to do that, he better stay off the ropes.
Right uppercut, split the guard by Azille.
Azille has to get inside, and Palacios has to make sure he doesn't let that happen. I like what I see from Azille with the style of guy that he has in front of him early on, Joe. Going to the body, trying to take some of that wind out of those tires.
Palacios with a wide right hand. Coming to the end of round one, scheduled for 8 between Palacios and Azille. Beaten prospect taking on Daryl Salmon in the main event. Louise Azille thought he was going to be fighting in the main event against recent cruiserweight champion O'Neal Bell. But O'Neal Bell about 3 weeks ago was nowhere to be found. Hasn't talked to his promoter in that span. So they pulled him out of the match, obviously. And Francisco Palacios took this fight on 5 days' notice. Natural southpaw, but he switches back and forth. He's spent a lot of time so far in this fight in the orthodox stance. And Azille gets to the inside. Left hand, right hand combination. The left hook upstairs, the right hand to the body.
Usually you would figure the switching from orthodox to southpaw would really bother a fighter like Azille, but maybe not. Azille has fought 2 southpaws in his last 4 fights. He has seen plenty of lefties. That's going to serve him tonight every time he sees Palacios make a switch. You know, a lot of fans would say, why would you take Palacios 11-0 and just throw him in after, 5 days notice with a guy who's much more experienced like Azille? Well, part of the reason they figured the style could pull off the upset, and the other reason is Palacios 30 years old. I'm sure his people are figuring we have to make a move. We don't have a lot of time, as though it was a 24-year-old.
It's exactly what he told us when we met with him. It's his mindset that, hey, time to take a chance. You got to go forward at some point, and this is as good a time as any. We'll see if he still feels that way after 8 rounds.
What you saw there was what Palacios would want to do on the inside with the stronger Azille, but not what you would want Azille to do. Palacios tied him up. Azille allowed himself to be tied up.
Now Palacios goes southpaw. Azille gets to the inside again. Doesn't let the hands go that time, though, William Palacio against the ropes.
Palacios much quicker, but not doing a good job to free up that speed. Using the ring, but allowing himself to be trapped on the ropes much too many times in the first 2 rounds, and also not using that jab in a snapping fashion to keep the slower man at bay. He's allowing Azille to walk in with no problems.
Now back to lefty. Azille gets in with that straight right hand. 3 straight left hands from Palacios, but blocked by Azille. Tries to dig to the body.
The job for Azille tonight is to get inside, go to the body, and cut the ring down.
Azille tries to place the left hand that time. End of 2. A world championship. He's coming up in our main event against Daryl Salmon. This is round number 3 between Francisco Palacios in the red, white, and blue Puerto Rican flag trunks against the former title challenger Louise Azille.
I hope that Palacios people didn't handicap this fight off of Azille's latest track records. He's lost 2 of his last 3, but to much higher level fighters. One was for the world title. All of the losses that Azille has suffered, 3 of them in his career, all to world champions.
And the other one was a split decision going back 3 fights to Kelvin Davis, who back in 2003 was in his prime. And of course 2 losses to Wayne Braithwaite. Of course, Wayne Braithwaite in 2001 and 2004 was one of the most feared cruiserweights around.
There has been some inactivity in Azille's career, go back before his last fight, he was off just under 3 years. Palacios has not really been burning it up as far as activity. 6 months since he was last in the ring, and only 2 fights in 2006 and 2 fights in 2005. And this is not where Palacios belongs, against the ropes, where he can't use those legs and stay away from the stronger Azille.
Needs to be moving on the outside, utilizing that jab. There's an example of Azille not having anything to deter him from coming in.
There needs to be a rating, I think, put on the trunks that you can wear in the ring. I mean, you look at Palacios' trunks, not a G rating, maybe a PG rating.
Idolized Hector Macho Camacho as a young man. Right hand to the left flank from Azille. Palacios now not moving, back up against the ropes. Azille doesn't throw at him.
And Palacios can't complain and blame his trunks in wearing him down or slowing him down. He should be moving around that ring, snapping that jab out with the kind of opponent that he has in front of him. Again, you could see for a moment why Palacios' people in theory would take this fight, Joe, because Azille very slow and very predictable, always coming in the same way. But he's always coming, and he's very consistent, and Palacios not doing enough to keep him off.
Louise Azille in the white trunks with blue trim, a 3-year layoff. He said no personal issues or troubles. He was spending time in the gym and dealing with moving his family down here to Florida after his title loss against Wayne Braithwaite. Let's look at Teddy Atlas's scorecard through 3 rounds so far tonight. First 3 rounds taken by the 36-year-old veteran Azille.
Palacios came in this fight 198.5 pounds, his heaviest weight in 2 years and 10 months. Not unexpected, as he took this fight, as we said, on 5 days' notice.
I asked Azille if there was any issues with, the short notice opponent. He said, to be honest with you, I don't even know anything about Palacios at all. Didn't even know his style. Much different style than if he was in against his original opponent, O'Neal.
No punching, no punching. Then go. All right, let's go.
Actually, both fighters are the perfect style for each other. Azille, being a pressure fighter, loves to track down, hunt down fighters that don't like pressure. Palacios, a mover, likes to have someone coming at him in a predictable pace that he can outmaneuver and outspeed. They both have that. Azille is executing it much better.
2-punch combination from Palacios. Punch track body shots. Azille 32 of 45.
All right, let's go.
Azille has been on the floor 2 of his last 3 fights. I don't think there's a danger of that with Palacios, who's not heavy-handed. And more importantly, doesn't want to sit in there and take the chance to deliver a punch that would have a chance of scoring that kind of effect. And if you're going to deliver a punch to drop somebody, you have to commit to it. Right now, Palacios committing to movement more than sitting down on any offense.
A backhand slap as Palacios created distance that time, and that's why Tommy Kimmings gave him a warning there. The old school move from Azille, hold the back of the head when you throw that uppercut, and then he doubled up that left hook. Now he's getting back to the inside again.
The only thing Azille needs to do is use that jab to keep Palacios from pot shotting him, stabilize him on the outside, and then get inside, bang that body, and cut the ring down.
Hard since he was 6 years old, 250 amateur fights for Joe Green, and now the southpaw, a 15-0 pro coming up in our main event. Round number 5 starting here in our cruiserweight co-feature, scheduled for 8. Punch track. The numbers: Palacios 67 landed to the head, Azille 36 to the body. Palacios does not like that real estate, but Azille does not make him pay for it. Azille, uppercut, left hand underneath on the inside.
The best you can say for Palacios tonight is that Azille has not stepped up the gas, the point, to really fully take advantage of the behavior of Palacios, moving around the ring, not in wanting to engage in too many moments. Azille, even though he's won every round on my scorecards, has not really done the extra things that seem to be there to do when he gets close to Palacios, to just grab this fight by the throat. He's allowing Palacios to hang around a little bit. You can see proof of that right here.
Short right hand that time. With one of only 2 punches during that sequence when Palacios was in that corner. Palacios showing a moment of aggression, firing off the uppercut. Now Azille tries to go to the belt line. Palacios walks out the side door.
You are what you are. And Azille is a guy that does not put punches together, even though he has the opportunities in moments here with Palacios stopping against the ropes. That is not the style or the temperament of Azille. He's aggressive, but in a very, very tempered manner. He'll get inside, he'll throw 1 or 2, but he won't stay there.
Right back to that position. Somewhat patient Louise Azille.
Azille has the look, especially in this fight, of a Terminator, but not the temperament.
Stop, nobody. Don't grab his hand. Let's go.
So Palacios and Azille come to the end of round 5, scheduled for 8.
Right there.
Wednesday night fights at Hard Rock Live in Hollywood, Florida. You can drive to ESPN and ESPN2 for a weekend of racing on the famous road course at Watkins Glen. NASCAR Push Series coverage starts 3 p.m. on Saturday on ESPN2. Then Sunday on ESPN, it starts up at 1 o'clock with NASCAR's Nextel Cup Series and NASCAR Countdown. Round 6. Francisco Palacios took the fight on short notice. He is in the Puerto Rican flag trunks. Louise Azille yet to separate himself from the 30-year-old underdog. Azille fought for the cruiserweight title.
An uppercut the other way. A right uppercut, and then a left hook up top. Puts Azille down on the floor for the 3rd time in his last 3 fights.
Let him stick around, and this is what happens. So now Palacios with a golden opportunity.
We mentioned earlier, Azille has been on the floor.
He doesn't feel good. The fight is over.
He looks like he's gone here. What a shocking turn of events.
What a stunner to open up this 7th round. Francisco Palacios, who was just kind of sticking around, boxing on the outside. Azille never separated himself, was the aggressor throughout, gets caught early on, and Palacios scores the upset TKO win.
How many times have we said on these air? Yeah, baby! You must take advantage of your opportunities. Azille had all opportunities all night long to put the heat on, as I said, step up the gas. But he did not. He allowed Palacios to lay around. Azille had been on the floor, as we mentioned, 2 of his last 3 fights. The opportunity was there for Palacios all night long, and all of a sudden, he grabbed that opportunity. Azille was hurt and lulled to sleep by the inactivity for all those rounds of Palacios. He did something a fighter should never do. He assumed there was no threat in front of him.
It was that kind of fight. You talk about getting lulled to sleep. You talk about assuming you're safe. But in this game, are you ever really safe? Watch the uppercut.
Right uppercut, and then left hook the way you're supposed to do it, just like it's drawn up on the blackboard. Right uppercut, splits the guard, and then a left hook on the side. A little nice move to the side by Azille, and a finishing touch with the left hook. And then the end of the fight, Azille steps up to gas now, has all the confidence in the world, uses that left hand underneath again, and again finds the target. Right hand up top, left hook, and the referee forced to step in and stop this fight in the 6th round.
That's a stunner, an absolute stunner. The Just for Men punch track fight recap. Total punches, Palacios a 99-84 advantage. 154 punches were jabs from Palacios. Well, let's make it official. Waste no more time. We send it up to the ring to Bob Alexander.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, Hollywood, referee Tommy Kimmons stops this bout at 55 seconds of round number 6. Your winner by TKO, Francisco the Wizard Palacios.
Took the fight on just 5 days' notice. He said, I'm confident, I'm ready to go. This is a great opportunity. The opportunity existed in round number 7. And what a perfect combination he threw at the former world title challenger, Louise Azille. Right uppercut, left hook, and W. Francisco Palacios, now 12-0.